Yes, in our last session, where their time is to be allotted and how they are going to prioritize each one of their time. Yes. So the next point is that a manager to be effective, he should not resist change. Now resist change because a business organization is dynamic in nature. Um, it always changes according to the situation, maybe in terms of competition, maybe in terms of technology. When that is the case, it is always expected that managers have to move accordingly with the changing situation. If they do resist change, chances are that their survival would be very much less. That's why they should adopt to the change but never resist to the change. One more important thing is to delegate well. That is to tell you'll have to communicate and distribute the work very much, you know, correctively to the people who can able to do it according to the skills that they have and thereby achieve the result. The next one is to act confidently. Yes, a manager will have to act confidently, that is to tell if his enterprise, if his business face any kind of, you know, risk, challenges, he should be able to solve those challenges even when they are difficult. He should not simply, leave hands and tell, I am unable to do it. Thus, on one hand, on the other hand, he should neither act overconfidently. That is to tell, when certain problem is there, it has to be addressed. If manager thinks, okay, yes, there is problem, let me wait for some other days, maybe that problem would turn into, even bigger problem. And what is important is they'll have to accept responsibility, and not only that, if there are any kind of mistakes, they should also admit those mistakes and change those mistakes as well. And finally, they can be effective managers when they are motivating, when they are curious for doing things, when they are honest, credible, and also decisive. So these points as to who are effective managers is given by Robert Kaplan in when he has done a study in Center for Creative Leadership. What you can see over the left hand side of slide is the general points which you can use for telling what makes an effective manager. Maybe their expectations management or providing tools or removing hurdles or by ownership management or by making continuous improvement or team motivation or even mentoring. Yes. So before we move forward, let us try to understand the important, two important words. That is, efficiency and effectiveness. Are they one and same? Can they be, used interchangeably? What is effectiveness? What is efficiency? So first let us take efficiency. What is this efficiency? Now, the ability organization or an individual has to use the resource wisely in a cost effective manner is called as efficiency. I'll repeat once again, the ability to use the resource wisely and in a cost effective way is called as efficiency. So, the degree to which the organization achieves a stated goal is called as effectiveness. The degree to which the organization achieves a stated goal is called as effectiveness. So, you can see over slide. Efficiency means how we use the resource, or it is where we see to that there is minimum waste possible, and effectiveness is the end of something. So it is nothing but the goal attainment, and it is required that a high rate of goal attainment is done. So the management strives for low resource wastage and also high goal attainment. So when there is low resource wastage, there shall be high efficiency, and when there is high goal attainment, there is high effectiveness. Now we can further, speaking about efficiency, it is the ability to do things in a right way. That is, it is a input output concept. So an efficient manager is somebody who is able to achieve outputs or the result that measure up to the inputs. Here inputs or outputs, what we mean is that inputs are labor, materials and time, and output the as you saw, the product, the process, co-productivity, service. So managers who are able to minimize the cost of the resource needed to achieve goals are acting efficient, whereas effectiveness it involves choosing right goal. So a manager who selects an inappropriate goal, say maybe producing mainly large cars when there is demand for small cars, is soaring, is an ineffective manager. So even if the large cars are produced with maximum efficiency, so we can take a real life example for this. Now, those managers who were working for General Motors during the 1970s understood this. Okay, what happened was when during that time there was a high demand for fuel efficient and also smaller cars. But the General Motors, it ignored the competition which was created by other Japanese cars and German cars, believing that the trends were an aberration and that their country fellows, that is Americans, they shall be loyal to American products and they would not continue to buy foreign cars. But then, as a consequence, they continue to produce large fuel inefficient cars and in doing so lost huge competitive ground to the new rivals in the market. So they had to, actually go through a very tough time because of that. That is why being effective and being efficient both is necessary. Efficiency is how you use it. Effectiveness is doing things right. So effectiveness, you can answer it. Why is this being done? Efficiency speaks about what needs to be done. Effectiveness is doing the right things, or as we tell, selecting the correct goals. Efficiency is whatever you are doing, do it in the right way. Effectiveness, it speaks about the goals of the organization and the objectives of the organization, whereas efficiency, it focuses on the process. Now, effectiveness, it is future looking with the desire for a better future, whereas efficiency, it is all about current work, or to tell what has to be improved now. Effectiveness definitely is not easy to measure. Efficiency is easily measurable because it can be easily quantified. Now, when you use, when if at all we are speaking about using certain amount of raw material for producing so many number of goods. So, if you are able to produce so much within the said limit, then yes, your efficiency is there. Otherwise, there is no efficiency. So, efficiency can be easily measured. Now, effectiveness always requires external view, which is from the outside of the organization, whereas efficiency, it is internal within the bounds of the organization. Now, effectiveness, it requires subjective visioning, whereas efficiency requires objective analysis. Now, what is this subjective and objective? Now, when we tell objective, it shall be to the point, to exact. There is no any perception involved. There is no any human thinking involved. If this has to be done in this way, it has to be done in certain way. Whereas effectiveness is subjective. It includes thinking, the perception of the other. So that is the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. So you can see over the picture in the right hand side of the slide. So when effectiveness comes along with efficiency, it leads to higher productivity. Maybe the words is not visible, but the one wearing the red tie, he represents effectiveness, or where the goals have been come up by the organization. You can make out by his appearance. He has a briefcase in his hand, is wearing a blazer, he is wearing a tie, which represents somebody in the management. And along with that, efficiency. Efficiency is nothing but how we use the resource and to what good extent can we use it. So when effectiveness and efficiency comes together, it leads to greater productivity. So you can see over the right hand side there is a matrix given. Over the x-axis there is use of resource. Over y-axis we have pursuing of appropriate goals. So doing right things and doing things right. So it has been divided into inefficiency and efficiency. When the resources are used in inefficient way and in ineffective way, then it is nothing but pursuing wrong goals and which are inefficient, that is not producing enough and also it shall be expensive for the organization. Now, when resources are used in an efficient way, but in an ineffective way of doing it, it is also pursuing wrong goals, but the wrong goals are being pursued in a proper way. That would result in not producing enough, but also under low cost. Now we have use of resource in an inefficient way and pursuing of appropriate goals in an effective way. So that will lead for a situation where the organization would be pursuing right goals but in an ineffective way, and that would be costing the organization. Finally, we have very efficient use of resource and also pursuing the appropriate goals. So that is where pursuing right goals and efficiency also exists in the organization. So we have high rate of interest which are also cost effective in nature. So now that you have been listening for 35 minutes, take a break of 5 minutes and be back by 2:35. Yes, let us now try and understand the importance of management, or why is that we need, to manage things in an organization. Why should we give so much of importance for this? Now, this management is a very dynamic and also life-giving element in every organization. So it is the activating force that gets things done through people. Now, without management, an organization is just, it is just, some men are there, there is missions, there is money, there is materials. So in its absence, the resources of production remain the resources and never become production. So the importance of management can be understood from some of the points. That is, there is optimum use of resources. Now, when there exists management, it ensures optimum utilization of resource by attempting to avoid, wastage of all kinds. It helps in putting the resources to the best advantage within the limitations set by the organization and also by its environment. So, a right climate is created for workers to put in their best and also to show, a good performance or superior performance. The next one is, it is important from the point of view that it produces effective leadership and also create great motivation for workers. Now, in the absence of management, the working of an enterprise will become random, and also it becomes, very much haphazard in nature, or what we can tell as there exists ambiguity, there might exist confusion. So these employees, they might feel, a sense of security when they find a certain body of individuals who are working day and night for the continued growth of an organization. So management makes group effort more effective. So it enables employees to move cooperatively and achieve goals in a coordinated manner. So management creates, teamwork and also motivates employees to work harder and better by providing all the necessary guidelines, counseling, and also even effective leadership. Now, this management, it establishes sound industry relations. Uh, what is the sound industry relation? Sound industry relation is the coordination between the employees or the departments without any kind of conflict. So the management has the capacity to minimize, industrial disputes and also contributes for sound industrial relations in certain enterprise. So industrial peace is an essential requirement for increasing productivity. And for this end, managers tries to, bring a happy balance between the demands of employees and organizational requirements. So they initiate prompt actions whenever the workers express certain kind of dissatisfaction over organizational rules, methods, and producers and reward system. And finally, there is achievement of goals. So management also plays an important role in the achievement of objectives of an organization. So objectives can be achieved only when the human and non-human resources are combined in a proper coordinated way. So this management, it is always goal oriented, which comes into existence with a view to realize predetermined goals. So managers, they plan carefully. They organize their resources properly. They hire competent people and provide necessary guidance. Now they try to put everything on the right track. So unnecessary deviations and overlapping efforts and waste motions should always be avoided. That is, when all these are realized, they help in realizing goals with maximum efficiency. Then it is important from the point of view of change and growth that happens in the organization. Now, as we discussed earlier, this business concern, they operate in a constantly changing environment. Now there is changes in technology, there is changes in government policy or competition, the legal regulations. So all this, they often threaten the survival of a firm. Now failure to, take note of customers' need, uh, as we said in the case of General Motors, it proved very much costly for the organization. So an enterprise has to take note of such changes and adapt itself as quickly as possible. So management is something which helps an organization by anticipating all certain changes. There shall be careful planning, there shall be forecasting combined with efficient use of resource and also taking appropriate steps. So successful managers are the ones who anticipate and adjust to changing circumstances rather than being passively swept along or caught unprepared. So employers today, they are hiring managers who can take unfamiliar situation in their stride. So if you are hiring people who do not like surprise, then probably you are not hiring the right people is the quote of the day. Then we have this also that management, it improves standard of living. Now the question is, yes it does, but how does it do it? So we can take certain points as to how does it increase the standard of living of people. First one is that it does use the scarce resource. Now we tell factors of production, but remember all these factors of production, they are scarce in nature. So they use all the scarce resources effectively and efficiently and turn it into profit. So that is the first thing we can tell how it increases the standard of living. Not only that, this management it ensures the survival of the organization or the firm in the face of continued changes and also in exploiting new ideas for the benefit of the society. It works as a unified force. Not just that, it develops employees' talents and also capabilities while they are working and also promote them to show the highest possible performance from their side. Now, there are a few of the economists like Joseph A. Scumter. Now, they refer to management and entrepreneurs as the engine of growth of any economy. It might be. Now, there is Drucker who called management as the lifeblood cell of an enterprise. According to Drucker, management is very much crucial factor in economic and social development. So, firms can fail because of inadequate funds, or they may fail because of improper marketing, or they may also fail because of incompetent product design, and maybe for any other reason. But they often fail because of the basic management functions are performed poorly or not at all. So, this management is the single most critical social activity in connection with economic progress. Physical, financial, and manpower resource are by themselves nothing but a passive agents. So, they must be effectively combined and coordinated through sound and effective management. So, if a country is to experience, a substantial level of economic growth and development. On the right hand side of the PPT, what has been given is for your use. So use these points, come up with an analysis as to how it is true. Maybe as to accomplishment of goals or effective utilization of resource or that it established sound organization relations and it establishes equilibrium. But before you write something about equilibrium, you'll have to exactly understand what equilibrium is all about. And you can write how it reduces costs. You can write how it helps in national growth and prosperity. And how does it bring, cordial industrial relations and also increases competitive strength. So before writing, you'll have to know what is competitive strength, what is equilibrium. So now you might have heard these two terms, that is management and administration. So is management and administration one and the same? Is there any difference at all between the two? Or is one higher over the other? Or is it that they can be used interchangeably? Now, there is a lot of controversy over the meaning of these two terms. So, some take management and administration as one, that it can be used interchangeably. Some of them they consider administration broader than management, while others have the view that management and administration are entirely different. So let us now see each one of the thought that is in existence. what basically is administration? Now, if we go through the textbook meaning, administration is, the overall determination of the policy or the setting of, major objectives, and also coming up with the broad programs for the organization. Now, there are three different thoughts. That is, one which tells administration is always broader than management. That is to tell, administration is superior to that of management, or management is included within the scope of administration. Then we have our saying where it is administration is a part of management. And one more which tells management and administration are identical with one another. Now, we have management experts. If I have to name people like Ordway Ted or Oliver Sheldon, we have William Springell, we have William Schluss, who maintain the fact that administration is broader than management. That is to tell, administration, it speaks of the specific goals and thereby lays down the broad areas within which all these goals are to be achieved. So, administration has the work of policy making function, whereas management, on the other hand, it is concerned with carrying out the broad policies which is laid down by the administration. That is to tell, administration is, is very much determinative in nature, whereas management, it is essentially executing those. So, according to this American school of thought, administrators are somebody who have the work of thinking. Managers are those people who have the work to act. So that is administration is a top level activity and management is a lower level activity. So this is the first kind of thought that is there when we have to speak about management or administration. Then we have another school of thought which tells administration is a part of management. Now, this is the English school of thought. The first one is American school of thought. The second is the English school of thought. So, people like Henry Fayol or Breck or Kimball, they represent this school of thought. They tell that management is a wider concept than administration. So you see the difference. It is the diagonal opposite of the first one. So they tell that management is a wider concept than administration. Now, according to them, administration handles the current problems that may arise in, carrying out the policies laid down by the management. So, management is rule making and rule enforcing body. So, it is an all encompassing and comprehensive term, and administration is a part of it. And administration is just an implementing agency. And we have one final school of thought which tells management and administrations are identical. Okay, here we have writers like William Newman or Nutz, we have Harold Nutz, we have Dalton E. McFarland, Ernest Dale. They tell that there is hardly any distinction between the two terms. They are of the opinion that okay, if I sit and divide what is administration, what is management, it will be simply a self-defeating and simply leads to confusion or it is thoroughly misleading. So the differentiation or this compartmentalization scheme, they are of any good or they hardly serve any useful purpose. So the management process is the same in all organization and all levels in the organization. And there is hardly any need to appoint two individuals to discuss the administrative and managerial function. So all undertaking, they require planning, organizing, command, coordination, and control in order to function properly. So all must observe the same general principles, and we are no longer confronted with several administrative or management science, but with one which can be equally applied well to public and to private affairs. So a manager, or for that matter an administration, they has to wear both the hats gracefully in order to be effective and also successful. Now this picture what you can see, it represents administration, it is as a part of management or where there is equal importance, or it distinguishes between top level, middle order level, and lower level in the organization. So now the question comes, how to resolve this controversy? So to resolve this confusion, Peter Drucker, he suggests that management is nothing but applicable in business enterprise, while administration is applicable maybe in government offices, maybe in military organization, maybe in social and cultural institution. Okay, maybe practically there is no any difference, but theoretically, writers they still continue to maintain a distinction between the two terms. You can see how from the slide that has been presented. Now they have given six different points of distinction. They tell that nature is thinking function. That is, it tells what has to be done in an organization and when shall it be done. Whereas management, it is concerned with the doing function. That is to tell who should do it. Now, speaking about scope, it determines broad objectives and policies of the organization. Whereas management, it implements plans and achieves goals through people. Now, speaking of level, it is a top level function. Whereas management, it is middle and lower level function. Now, speaking about skills that are necessary to do it, when it comes for administration, it is conceptual and human skill. Concept is something where we think, where we use our human brain. Management is technical. Technical is something which related to doing. Now it has to be learned separately and distinctively for each of the work that has to be done. Now, this administration, it represents especially the owners who invest capital and also who are entitled for the profits of the organization. Whereas management, it refers to the paid individuals who work for remuneration. Now, as we said earlier, administration, it is mostly used in government, military, education, social and cultural organization. Whereas management, it is in business organization. But whatever may be the reason, from the practical point of view, uh, this distinction that we make, it is just a waste of time or it is a futile exercise. These managers or these administrators, they have to perform the thinking and doing functions simultaneously. Now they have to, do both both the work effectively and also successful. So let us stop it here for today's session and let us come back for our session tomorrow and we shall discuss the rest of the